Well, welcome everybody that's here. Thanks for joining us today. And as normal in class, if something stops working, the screen freezes up, or if the chat or if my audio goes crazy, please interrupt me. Please let me know. Please, please don't be afraid to unmute your microphone and say, "Hey, something with the technology is not working," and we'll do our very best to fix it. But we're really honored here today to have some biomedical engineering students here to talk to us and present to us some things that you folks probably are looking at in your science, technology, engineering, and math future. Not necessarily biomedical engineering, but some areas that are definitely associated with those pieces. So thank you, and thank you, and thank you so much to these three folks for being here today. A couple of reminders really quick. Attendance today for this class or this academic seminar is taken by the link in Schoology. So if you look, you can find in the updates here today, here is the ask a question and attendance form. And then that time stamps when you asked your questions or filled out the form so that I know that you were here during this time. So if you haven't filled this form out yet in the first couple minutes since you've been here, please go and ask a question and fill out this form. And then the I was absent and makeup assignment presentation is right here, and I'm recording this right now. So then if you're gone, sick or ill, or can't attend right now, you can click on this link and you'll be able to watch what I'm talking about right now. So please make sure that you fill out the form for a question. A couple of other reminders. If you're in the AP Chemistry 1 class, I won't see you now until next week Tuesday. And remember that you have some naming and formula writing homework to do. You have a practice test to complete, and then remember we have a quiz, a screen-on quiz for polyatomic ions next week, Tuesday. And then for AP Chemistry 3 folks, remember there's a Schoology quiz on Chapter 14, rates, kinetics, integrated rate laws, all that fun stuff. And then you have a pump-down lab that you have to do, and then you have a couple of Chapter 15 questions. Remember, those are due next week, Monday or Tuesday, something that you can look on the schedule and find the exact date. But they should be done while we have no school over these next couple of days here, preparing to go back to face-to-face learning. So I think I got everything here. A couple of reminders for everybody, question and answer form, and then thank you once again. Thanks for being here, and we'll see all the rest of you on Monday and Tuesday after our presentation today. So I'm going to let our presenters introduce themselves, and I hope I don't screw the technology up here too much, but I'm going to pass it over here to our first presenter. Oops, I think I might have gone the wrong person. Oops, my fault. Let's see. Guess I want to continue. Lainey, did it work?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thanks so much for being here. I'm going to mute my microphone and let you guys.
All right, we all see this?
It looks great.
Yeah, perfect.
Melissa, does it look okay to you?
Yeah,
Thank
all
you.
set. All right, hello. I'm Mulaney, so I'm going to start the presentation just talking a little bit about what BMES is here at the university. So BMES is a department-affiliated student group, so we work directly with the Biomedical Engineering department with this club. And so we just work on giving all our members access to different academic, professional, and social networks. So just list some like the different events we have. We go to career fairs, we have study sessions, we do some fun stuff like game nights and things like that. And then just what biomedical engineering is. So biggest thing is that we're a multidisciplinary field. So we have a bunch of different types of engineering and design concepts that fall into our field, and they all just apply to different biology and medicine stuff. So you see our little web we made, just the different aspects of science and engineering that fall into BME. And then, so what can you do if you go into the career? A lot of different things. You can go in so many fields with BME. So this kind of just shows you, some people go to med school to be doctors. Some people go to law school and become like patent lawyers. A lot of people go into like straight up industry to be like prototypers, researchers. People go get their PhD to be a professor someday. So there's just a lot of different things you can go into with this field. All right, so then about me. Don't know if anyone can recognize the school, but I'm from Rosemount High School, so very close to Lakeville. I'm sure you all know what it is, but that's where I went. And then obviously came to the U of M. So the university is actually the only school I applied to. I was pretty set on Minnesota as where I wanted to go. Wanted to stay close to home. My dad went to the U. My mom got her master's here, so also kind of runs in the family. Also knew I wanted a Big Ten school. And it has a really good biomedical engineering program, so that put me up there too. Because we're kind of right in the heart of what's called Medical Device Alley. So lots of medical device companies all around, which makes this a really good place to study biomedical engineering. But yeah, so why I chose biomedical engineering, started in my AP biology class. I had a teacher named Miss Duth and fell in love with biology in general and just got really close with her, and she helped me look into like different fields of biology in general. I considered pharmacy for a while, realized that wasn't really one to go. I liked math a lot. Senior year, I liked physics a lot. Became really close with my AP physics teacher, Mr. Keene. So just kind of all the classes combined, I realized that this field does a good job of getting the math, getting the science, getting the biology. I wanted to work in the health field in some respect. My mom's a nurse, my sister's a paramedic, so I always kind of had an interest in that field, but did not want to be a doctor by any means. So this was kind of a nice way to get into the health field by using like the math and science that I really enjoy. So then a little bit more about like here in college. So we have what are called subplans in our major, just like an emphasis area type of thing, a track we take within the major. So mine's called Biomedical Transport Processes. I recently changed that. I thought I was really set on biomechanics for a really long time and realized that wasn't really what I wanted to go into. I'm taking transport right now as a class and have really, really enjoyed it, and decided that's what I wanted to do. So that kind of includes mass transfer, heat transfer, or like fluid mechanics. So we do a lot of like, oh, if you have a drug patch, how long does it take for the drug to diffuse into the skin, things like that. Or we've talked about with like the heat transfer, like an ice pack or a hot pack, and talking about how the heat goes and equilibrizes with your body. So some of that stuff. It also includes like computational modeling stuff, which I'm really interested in. Our one professor like made the COVID computational model this past spring, so interested in doing some of that with that. And then so some classes I've taken that I really enjoyed. First one, project-based inquiry, where I learned how to 3D print. So this M up here in the corner was my final project for that. It's a puzzle that includes little insignias for all the different majors in the College of Science and Engineering here at the university. So there was like DNA for BME. There's a rocket for aerospace engineering, the pi symbol for math, like just different things that kind of represent the different majors that you can go into in our college. Medical device prototyping. I took last spring. Unfortunately, it got cut short with the COVID and we went online, but that was really fun. I learned how to like use the laser cutter and use some of the machinery, so like the lathe and the mill and the drill press. So just kind of some different cool hands-on stuff. I've really always enjoyed computer science. I've taken a lot of, I know 3 different computer science languages, Java, Python, and MATLAB. So programming's always kind of been a big thing that I enjoy. So this big picture in the bottom corner is a game that I programmed. So it's like a snake game. The green snake goes around and your goal is to like eat the red dot and then not run into the black snake, which here's when I lost because I hit the black snake. So that was just kind of fun to like apply it to something fun. Physiology lab, that picture is me and my roommate in our physiology lab. We were doing EOG signals, which is eye signals. So we looked at your eye moving when you like follow a pen that's moving up and down, or when you read a sentence. We looked at some of those signals that the eyes send. And then transport, which is how I ended up in the subplan that I'm in. So then some of my research projects, internship, we do a lot of in-class projects, which makes it a lot more fun to be in this major. I mean, this semester, our 3 core classes all have a project that you have to do. So that's fun. One of mine was related to taking a pill that releases melatonin to help you go to sleep, and then 8 hours later starts releasing caffeine to wake you up. So I studied how you could make a pill that does that. Right now, Melissa and I are in the same group for our systems lab, and we're working to make a game that uses your heart rate as the signal to control the character. So if your heart rate is really high, you can't do as much. Your goal is to calm down. So when your heart rate gets lower, the character does better things. Like, for example, if it's a diver, once you lower your heart rate, the diver can dive deeper. Melissa and I were both a part of the COVID-19 gown project this past spring. So our Fairview Health System had a big shortage of hospital gowns with all the incoming COVID cases. So we worked on a project team to make quick, affordable, fast gowns just to get sent to them. So that was like a really fast project. Just had to design something quick, find a manufacturer. I worked on helping find the plastic supplier for the gown, the material that we needed. We were able to find a company here in Minnesota that was able to produce them and get them to the hospitals where they were needed. I'm currently working on a meniscus tear repair device project. So this here up in like the top corner is a meniscus from a pig. We harvested the other day with the doctor we're working with. He cut that out for us so we can use it for testing. And then this just shows some of the different tear types you can have. So our goal for the device is to be able to repair all the tear types. A lot of devices can only repair one tear type. So the goal of our device is to try and be able to repair multiple tear types instead of only one. And then I'm also an engineering intern with Insight2 Technologies right now. So we work on covered stents. That's what this picture is in the middle-ish. That's a covered stent. So a stent is used when your arteries are blocked. You put that into the body in the artery, and then you expand it with a balloon to open the artery up. That way the blood can still flow through. And so then we use covered ones. That way if there's like a leak or a protrusion in the artery that's causing blood to spew out of it, the covered part can seal that leak and let the blood flow continue to go through. So that's kind of what I've been doing with BME. Let Melissa talk about her stuff.
Thanks, Mulaney. I hope your meniscus tear project works really well. I tore my ACL in high school, so that would have helped. Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Romberg. I am a junior in BME at the U. I'm actually not from Minnesota, so that provides a little bit of perspective. I still chose to go here. I'm from Illinois. I went to Grayslake Central High School. To give you perspective, our high school had a lot of AP classes, but they didn't have a lot of like engineering or project-based classes. So coming to the U and having a lot of projects was very new for me. But I know you guys are probably wondering like why BME and why the U. There I am, a little picture, Minnesota, or me at Minnesota. But I chose BME mostly because I liked math and science. I liked my AP Bio and my AP Chem, so hopefully that's relatable for you guys too. I really wanted to work in the medical industry or medical device industry, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to do more of the product development or more of like the medical field aspect, like a surgeon. So I was like, oh, BME, perfect blend of both. So I applied to Michigan and Purdue and Wisconsin and Iowa and here and a bunch of different places. And what I really liked about the U was that it is near a lot of those medical device companies, and our program is actually really good in providing a lot of different aspects. So if you want to go into research, you can tailor your program to research, or if you want to do more of like a mechanical engineering focus, you can take your BME knowledge and find a professor that is doing something similar, and you can really work with them to customize what you want to do. So for me, knowing that I was probably going to get a job and I was actually going to like be able to work on what I wanted to, that was great. But yeah, my original plan was to be a neurosurgeon. Then I decided that was not for me, mostly because I am not patient. And so I knew that 4 years of school was going to be kind of the max for me. I wanted to get out there and start having an impact and working on a bunch of different things and getting that experience instead of going to med school, I soon realized. And so I wanted to have more of a diverse work schedule. So working in quality engineering, doing mechanical testing, doing process development. I wanted my day to be kind of a genre of all of those. And so I decided that I wanted to be an engineer first and maybe working with surgeons, but not necessarily being the surgeon. But if that's something you want to do, completely go for it. I'm not hating on surgeons or med school. Like all props to you guys. Like that's awesome. So yeah, so that's why I chose BME. So what have I done in my 3 years now in college? Well, my second semester, I also did project-based inquiry, the same class that Melanie was talking about. The picture in the top right-hand corner there is a windmill that we were able to 3D print. And I know the blades look a little weird, but that's okay. That was a little bit of a scaling issue in the 3D printer, but whatever. So what we did is we took a windmill and we took kind of a system that already exists, which is wind energy, and we prototyped it so that we were able to make the windmill and all of the working circuitry inside the windmill to kind of amplify the revolutions to light up an LED. And it was kind of a big project. Second semester of college, you haven't learned a lot of real life skills yet. You kind of just like learned about physics and chem and math, but you haven't learned how to 3D print or to laser cut or how to like solder things, or at least I didn't because my high school didn't have project-based classes. So we were kind of just thrown out there. And then I was sitting in Anderson labs for hours at a time, just like, I don't know how to do this. Like, this is crazy. But at the end of the semester, having a working prototype that lit up an LED was just like the coolest thing ever. And it made me really like the kind of like hands-on part of project making, where you can work in a group and you learn all these different things and research about the angles that things should be at, but then you can finally make a prototype that does something, like lights up a light bulb. That's so cool. So that influenced me to take 3151, the same one that Melanie was talking about. We kind of have a similar path. That's a medical device practicum class. So this one is, instead of taking something that already exists, you take a real problem. So our problem was Parkinson's patients aren't necessarily able to brush their teeth as effectively because they have a lack of like dexterity. And so we created a new toothbrush that actually had a 3D head on it and a bigger handle so that you can brush your teeth with less dexterity and you have more independence as a Parkinson's patient. And so we were able to work on this project. And then one of our group members actually worked with ACR Homes, where he was able to take in the prototype and really show them how it works and get, feedback from them and, work through that process. And it was a really cool project to work on, just knowing that you would have an impact with people who are out there and who actually need this technology to be more independent. And so it had that cool impact. And then my last favorite class, this is not relatable for a lot of other BMEs, but I really liked biomaterials. And what I liked about it was the project that we did. So this class is similar to medical device practicum, where you're given a problem that exists now and you're trying to solve it. So for this project, it was more research based. It was like a hypothetical. So hernia mesh is actually kind of problematic. It solves the problem, but it isn't very flexible. So as you're moving, after surgery, you can feel it kind of tearing or pulling. And then also infection is a huge problem. It's not very biocompatible, mostly because it's trying to keep your your insides together. And so you can only use like a certain type of material. So what we did is we took a lot of different research case studies, clinical trials, and designed a new type of mesh that's made out of PLLA, which is the type of plastic. And then we added a plasticizer to make it more elastic. And then we coated it with like a cellulose covering so that it would adhere to the skin enough, but then also it would heal slower so that the infection rate wouldn't be as exponential. And then there's so many things about like pore size and how to manufacture it. And so we kind of had this list of like everything that we were going to change about it. And then hypothetically, that would, based off the research, that would be the best solution. So I really like the research aspect, and being in COVID, that was one of the only projects that it was easy to do when we were not face to face, because everyone kind of researched on their own. And then we all came together and said, okay, I know what the best coating is. And then someone else would be like, I know how to manufacture it the best. And, combining it all together. Whereas, some of these in-person projects, it's really hard if only one of us is on campus. So we've done a little bit of an okay job adjusting to COVID and being online. So then I also did the COVID-19 gown project with Mulaney. As you can see here, I spent 3 days prototyping the gown with garbage bags, so that was fun. I was able to take a lot of the dimensions that they were giving, and we were trying to make like a one-size-fits-all design. So me being 6 feet tall, I was kind of an outlier there, and I wanted to make sure that our design, really fit like everyone and was adjustable and stuff like that. So I took our designs and made these prototypes and, modeled them for the people at 3M in Fairview, which was kind of awkward, but that's okay. I showed them my designs or our designs, and then kind of adjustments that we had made individually, and then kind of came up with the final design there. And I'm just so glad that it was able to work out and we were able to get them out to people so quickly. So then one of my last contributions to society here, I had an internship last summer with Medtronic, and that was also virtual, which was kind of a letdown because I thought I was going to be in person, but that's okay. Take each challenge as it comes up. So I was virtual and I was working on a process development project. And so my job was to come in and figure out why the new equipment development process was, hitting a lot of snags in it. So I sat down in meetings every single day with manufacturers and some of our mechanical engineers and operators, and I would sit down and say, okay, today, what were your biggest issues? Whether that was talking with some of the suppliers or the operators weren't hitting the certain quota. Well, why was that? Like, what was failing? And so I took all of their little issues that they were having and wrote them all down. And I created this big spreadsheet of everything that was going on and all of the different solutions that we had come up with how to solve these things. And so it created a new document that really streamlined the process, as well as fixing a lot of the bugs early. Whether that was, working through this with the operators early or working with the suppliers to make sure that things weren't going to be able to be out of spec, so more constrictive designs. And it was a fun project. I liked sitting on my parents' patio in the summer in the sun and taking my calls. It was a good time. There were definitely trade-offs for being virtual. Sometimes I got to take a nap over my lunch break, which was awesome. But next summer I will be doing a co-op. So it's next summer and fall, I'll be doing a co-op with the same team again, and I'll actually be in person, and I'll be doing a lot of the type of stuff that I had mentioned before, like 3D printing, mechanical testing, equipment failure. So it's a lot more of the project-based work that I've done and that I've really enjoyed. And it helped me pick like medical device design, which is my subplan, so a little bit different than what Mulaney's doing. She's doing transport, whereas mine's more like mechanical engineering focused, I would say. And it's a lot more like project-based, hands-on stuff that will prepare me for the medical device industry, at least with Medtronic and the stuff that I've been working on, equipment testing and making new prototypes and that type of thing. So that's what I've been doing for the past 3 years, and I'll hand it over to Shivansh.
Thanks, Melissa. So, yeah, I'm Shivant. I'm a junior at the University of Minnesota studying biomedical engineering. As I'll talk maybe soon about, my subplan is cell and tissue engineering. But yeah, my journey started in high school. I went to Spring Lake Park High School. Not sure if you really know where that is, but it's about 30 minutes away from your high school. But yeah, graduated in 2019, and really my high school provided like a lot of opportunities with like, AP classes and a lot of like exposure to what I what I do see right now in college. So I did really take advantage of those courses, AP courses. I also had an opportunity to spend my senior year actually at the University of Minnesota through the PSEO program. If you don't know what that program is, I highly encourage you guys to look into it. It's a great opportunity to, earn college credit while you're in high school. And it really provided me with a great opportunity to, get more exposure to, what my interests were. And it really helped me like determine like, what my interests were, of course. But yeah, both of those things really showed me that my interests were like very spread out. Like I enjoyed the sciences, I enjoyed engineering, I enjoyed medicine, I enjoyed like learning more about medicine, and technology. Everything seemed very appealing. So I knew that for my undergraduate career I wanted to pursue something that was multidisciplinary in nature, something that like um didn't allow me to like sacrifice one thing for the other. So that's why I chose biomedical engineering in a sense. um, what was actually even more interesting is that during my year, my senior year at the U, I was able to join BMES, which is a student group that Mulaney talked about a little bit or introduced earlier. And one of the first events I attended was a event with Medtronic. It was a like employer informational session in a sense, and it completely like reaffirmed that biomedical engineering is what I want to do. So yeah, make sure that you get involved. That's very important because I think that played a huge factor in you know me deciding that I want to pursue biomedical engineering. Um, Pictures on the right, that's those pictures are uh, from Philadelphia. So I had the opportunity to attend the BMES National Conference in 2019 pre-COVID. But yeah, we can go to the next slide. So yeah, the original plan for me, I was really interested in, computer science. For some time, I was also really interested in chemical engineering. Uh, but again, when I got more exposure during my year at the U, my senior year, and then like it just really pushed me away because I didn't really want to again sacrifice one field for the other. And so biomedical engineering, as you see in that picture, it's so broad, and you can really specialize in a lot of things, and you can also just really learn about a lot of things, a lot of different things that you can bring together and get a better understanding of. So I chose biomedical engineering. I'm really happy with my choice. And what one more thing that really supported my my choice for or choosing biomedical engineering, it was that I'm a pre-med student. So biomedical engineering in a sense also really helped me, you know, facilitate that path as well. There are some majors that are more pre-med friendly, and there are others that aren't. And that doesn't mean that you can't like pursue other majors. You can always combine, pre-med with really any major. But there are majors that are like, that'll help, that have similar coursework or coursework that will support your pre-med coursework. So that's also one of the reasons why, I chose biomedical engineering. Next slide. So subplan and classes. So my subplan is cell and tissue engineering, and I partly chose this subplan after, really going through all the other subplans. There are a variety of them here at the university. There's, medical device design. As Mulaney mentioned, there's biomedical transfer processes. There's cellular and molecular bioengineering. So all of them are, again, you're specializing in different things. But what really appealed to me was cell and tissue engineering, especially since it provided means to, really explore and, you know, learn more about biological functions at the cell and tissue level. And there are a variety of very integral applications of cell and tissue engineering. You may have heard of scaffolds engineering, drug delivery systems, uh, drug and nutrient transport through tissue. Those are very, integral applications that are, really valuable in medicine. And that's what really brought me into cell and tissue engineering. Granted, I haven't taken much coursework specific to cell and tissue engineering, but next year, my senior year, I am planning to take, a lot of more courses that, really give me a good exposure into that. Um, yeah, so moving on to favorite classes. I have a lot of favorite classes, so it was really hard to, choose like a couple to talk about. Um, but some of them include, biomedical programming. That class was really, it was a tough class, but, I've always had, an interest in programming, and that class really provided a great, introduction to, structured programming with, within biomedical engineering, which is really valuable. Really learned about a lot of programming skills, logic, and it was really relevant to a lot of my current coursework. So as Melissa and Mulaney can attest, we use MATLAB a lot. We do a lot of programming within our classes. So that class was really helpful in terms of preparing us for the classes that we are in currently. Um, the next class, which I took last semester, was a CAD course, so computer aided design of biomechanical and transport devices, and that also gave me a very good introduction to CAD modeling, analysis for medical device, and engineering using the SolidWorks CAD platform. What I really enjoyed about that class is that it gave a very good emphasis on practical applications of CAD, uh, especially applications that engineers use to you know solve real world problems. And I also got a lot of exposure to actual industry practices or projects, and I also had some opportunities to participate and contribute to them. So that was a very good unique experience. Um, I also took physiology last semester, so principles of physiology, which was it was very insightful in terms of learning more about human physiology in a sense with a lot of quantitative aspects, learning more about organ systems, cellular transport processes, scaling in biology. It was all very interesting because it's also very relevant to a career in medicine and medical school. So I really enjoyed that class. Um, but yeah, there are a variety of other classes that I've been very grateful to have the opportunity to take. But yeah, going on to research and projects. So as Mulaney mentioned, a lot of our coursework this semester, we have in-class projects. Um, One of my projects actually for my signals and systems class is that we're doing artery segmentation with hopes to develop a automated way to um, classify coronary artery disease. So we're looking at angiograms, which really look at the arteries, and we're trying to assess um, you know there's a scale for which we can use to correlate to coronary artery disease. So we've been using that. We've been using MATLAB. We're really in the early stages of the project itself, but we have been able to do some image processing that has allowed us to, really to start looking into like the project itself. But our end goal is to really like, create an automated process which will really help, clinicians in when they're, diagnosing coronary artery disease and looking at, how significant it is. But yeah, I'm also doing another class project for biomaterials where we're looking at the COVID vaccine. Uh, we're looking specifically the Moderna and Pfizer COVID vaccines, and we're looking at ways to since these vaccines do need to be stored in very low temperatures, we're looking at ways to like um, develop some sort of like coating that will allow for these like vaccines to be stored at not very low temperatures. So that's really interesting as well. It's a lot of work, but it's really meaningful work with really a lot of real world applications. Um, Beyond that, I'm also an undergraduate researcher at the Department of Medicine in the Cardiovascular Division. Within that role, I do research on ECG signals. So if you don't know what an ECG signal is, it's basically demonstrates the electrical activity of the heart. So within my work, I'm currently exploring different parameters of ECG signals. And one of the parameters that uh, I've been looking at, we recently learned that it's correlated with post cardiac arrest neurological outcome. So that has a lot of significance in terms of, if there's a patient who's in a coma after cardiac arrest, we can assess, what their neurological state is, if there's been, a lot of or too much irreversible damage. We can now kind of like quantify that, and really it'll allow for a variety of applications, but it's been really meaningful work. And most recently, it's been like we've made really great strides within that project. I've also recently been involved with a modular resistance trainer for cancer recovery project. That's through the Medical Devices Center on campus. Um, I really encourage you guys to like look into, um, the Medical Devices Center. It's a really, you know, a really interesting, uh, division of our university. They have very interesting projects. So if you're, interested in any of that, do look into it. But yeah, let's go to the next slide.
All right, so we just wanted to give you guys kind of an overview of the highs and the lows. We're going to do lows first because it's better to be brought up by the highs afterwards. So some of the lows, obviously, of engineering are it requires a lot of studying. Your initial smarts from high school may take you so far. It's really about hard work and learning new technology and, being the one to put in a lot of time to learn the new systems. So moving off of that, a lot of our learning concepts are through failure. These two talked about how they like programming. I hated it. And so I sat on MATLAB for hours at a time with the same error code coming up every single 5 minutes. And it really made me want to pull my hair out. But now I have a good understanding of MATLAB and 3D printing and all these different things that I never would have known if I hadn't put down the time to really go through them. I know a lot of guys were asking about how it is, does it compare to high school in terms of concepts? It's a lot quicker than high school. You learn about the things that you would learn in a whole year in kind of like the first couple weeks. And so it's a lot of you trying to catch up and putting in the time to really get ahead and make sure you understand the material and showing up to office hours and getting a lot of that extra help and stuff. Also needing to ask for help, that's a crucial part of it. I know I ask Mulaney a lot of the times for help because I don't understand how things are going on. And, if neither of us understand, then we just reach out to the next person. It's just how it goes. We're all a team. You can't really work individually. We're all in it together. And then textbook reading, I know that is one of the things that is tough. You have to sit down and read, 100 pages for the next lecture, and it's straight equations for 100 pages. And you're like, I don't even know how this derivation works. Doesn't make sense to me, but you got to take a step back, figure it out. You got this. You're all smart. It's really hard, but there's a reason you're here. Then also the highs, yeah, sorry, I forgot. For the highs, it's so worth it. Oh my gosh, like for the windmill project, creating this tiny little house that you see here out of 3D materials, I thought that was the coolest part. Like, I know it's so dumb, it's just a tiny little house, but it was so cute. And we were able to light up the LED inside of it. It was so fun. Meeting other engineers, our community and our group chat is the funniest thing that I have ever been a part of. And we really are family in BME, and putting in all that hard work together really makes us kind of like a little family. It's so cute. And the feeling that you get when your code finally works for me is like one of the best feelings ever. I think that that makes up for all of the hours that I sit there struggling and like being so close to tears because you're like, I don't understand what's going on. But the feeling you get afterward is just, it's amazing. Seeing how much you've learned, I never would have thought my freshman year that I would have known all of this and could make things myself and be friends with people where we can sit down and work on homework for hours at a time. And it's fun. And I never would have thought that in the beginning. And definitely knowing you can make a difference in the world in this field, it's just, you're really going to save lives. You are. And that comes with a lot of work required, but it's so worth it in the end. And so if you're going through it now where school is hard or COVID's hard or you're applying to school and you don't know how you're going to do it, like you will do it. You are so super smart and capable, and there are so many people that you can ask for help. And if you don't have the confidence in you right now, you will. Like, you got this. You are so smart and capable, and I believe in all of you. You got this.
All right, so we're going to go through some of the questions you guys asked us. I'm just going to start with, like, a lot of people asked about, like, what career you can go into with biomedical engineering, or what are other engineering types and things like that. So I just want to start with, like, highlighting that clearly Shivansh, Melissa, and I are on very different paths despite being in the same major. Shivansh is going to med school. Melissa wants to do super hands-on R&D, research and development, engineering, mechanical side stuff. I want to go into like computational modeling with engineering or quality engineering. That's more of like the getting it through the FDA process and things like that. So just the idea that really any major you go into, any engineering major, can take you a lot of different paths. I mean, even just getting into the medical device industry. Us as BME students can get into the medical device industry, but so can electrical engineers working on like pacemaker devices, or mechanical engineers. Like, there's so many different types of majors that can put you in this field. There's not one major for one field. I think even like Siobhan talked about with med school, like there's so many different majors you can do and still end up in med school. So I think that's the most important thing to realize as you're trying to decide on a major or on a career, that there's not one choice. There's not one major for one career. There's a major that has lots of career options, or a career option that has lots of different majors you could choose. So I think it's just recognizing that and not stressing yourself out too much that, like, oh, because I'm in BME, I have to make a medical device. Like, that's not even true. Like, there's so many different things. I can be a doctor. I can be a lawyer if I want to be and be in BME. Like, that's a pathway too. So just kind of recognizing that, I think, is important for you guys to realize.
I was going to go off of that. I know there's a lot of questions about like how to prepare in high school for what you're doing in college, or how do you even pick what college you're going to go to? And I think being out of state, that the thing that I was looking for the most is a rigorous program, but also somewhere I was going to feel comfortable. So all the engineering programs are going to be hard. You know that. Like, you're going to go into it and there are going to be some days you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. But you have to find a place for you that really you feel comfortable in the area, in the program, with how things are set up. It's very much of an individual experience, and there's not one place you can go, just like there's not one major that you would probably be successful in. You just have to find do you like math and science? Okay, that probably means you want to be in STEM. And of STEM, do you like hands-on things? Then maybe do mechanical engineering or electrical or BME or something where you can picture the future of what you'd be doing, and that seems like something that's enjoyable for you. Like it's gonna be it's not one size fits all, you guys got to figure out like what you want to do, and you'll be successful.
Yeah, going a step further, I saw a couple questions that asked about, what are our like tips for succeeding in college. So, like Melissa mentioned, college is fun, but college is hard too. So, it's really important to like recognize that fact, but you also want to make sure that, you're doing something that you're passionate about. Because if you're doing something that you're actually interested in, the tough stuff, the stuff is that's gonna, keep you up all night. For example, like, just day before yesterday, I was up till 4:30 a.m. working on some code for one of my classes, and it's rough, but when you're doing stuff that you find very meaningful in nature, it won't be so tough, or it'll be something that you'll enjoy, or you'll be grateful that you're doing. Um, but yeah, it's really important to, establish a balance as well, because, even for us being college students in the midst of a pandemic, it's hard. And I'm sure it's hard for you guys too. I'm sure you guys are struggling, in some like shape or form, due to this pandemic, uh, and being, I mean, maybe virtual. Uh, but it's really important to, maintain that balance, make sure you have like a great support system. I know it's really important to, uh, like balance, with academics, extracurriculars, and life outside of both. So for me, it's really like, uh, making sure I'm staying in contact with, friends and family, spending time with them. That's really important for me. That really helps me, maintain that, equilibrium that you might, learn about in chemistry, but with application to, your life. But yeah, just make sure that you have the right support system. It's going to be tough. You got to just make sure that, you're working hard. There are going to be times that, you'll want to give up, but, just you got to find the thing that motivates you. And you just gotta keep looking at that, and you gotta trust the process. So yeah.
All right, some other questions. I know a lot of people um, asked about now what it's like with COVID. We're all online. Uh, we got sent lab kits, so we do our labs here at our apartments, at home, wherever we are. My roommate and I are in the same major, so we sit together and we make our little circuits and we make LED lights that light up in our apartment, and we think it's really awesome. So we have a lot of fun doing that. Even so, it was nice they found a way to like make it hands-on, and even if we can't be in person, so getting the lab kits to do that has been really nice. And then what it was like before, you wake up, you go to class, way different. You usually only have a couple classes, maybe 3 classes a day, way different than the like 7 you're probably doing right now in high school. So that's a learning curve, just like, wow, I only have to go to 3 classes, but then there's a lot more homework time. So finding that balance of how much time do I have to spend on homework now that I only go to class for 3 hours a week or whatever that is. So learning that balance is definitely something different. And yeah, just life before COVID was going into class, going to the library a lot, because it can be easier to study in that space than it is in your dorm with your roommate around and things like that. And like finding your study group, things like that were very common.
I saw that there were some questions about like how are you guys finding these opportunities for research and internships and that sort of thing. So what I did for my internships, at least, I went to the career fair that the university hosts, and I went as a freshman, even though I had like no experience. We had been here for like 2 weeks, and I walk up and I just went, "Hi, I'm Melissa. Like, what opportunities do you have? And it's super awkward, but you're able to really connect with a lot of the companies, and the people there really just want to talk to you and figure out what you're looking for. And they provide a lot of insight into how your experiences could help them as a company. And getting over that like social barrier, I think, is really important. But yeah, so I went to the career fair. I look on a lot of we have like this handshake app, which is like a lot of jobs are posted there. We do a lot of interviews. At first, like during non-COVID times, you would go in person. And so you would either go on site, or sometimes they host them at the college and you'd interview with people. Or now in COVID, there's a lot of online meetings where you go in and you'll interview with like the whole team, or you'll interview with like the manager, and they'll ask you questions about what you're looking for and stuff like that. But I think what you have to do in order to find research or internships is kind of just ask around, apply to anything and everything that you see. Sometimes reaching out to faculty to get like research positions and work in their lab is a good opportunity as well. And even if you don't find internships your first 2-3 years, like you can still be successful. It's not a requirement. It's just really nice if you want to go into industry to get that hands-on experience before it's kind of like your job. Like you have to have to do this. But yes, internships are paid. I saw that question. Research, you can get class credit, or you can get paid sometimes. It kind of works on more of an individual basis, depending on how much money the lab has or the policies of the professor leading it. But yeah, apply to anything and everything.
So I saw some questions about, how similar are classes in college to classes in high school. And I'll also talk about,
There's a lot.
sorry. I don't know. I heard something. Yeah, but classes in high school, it really depends. So, if I'm sure that, your your high school maybe offers like AP classes and, maybe some like CIS classes. Those classes tend to be a little more related to or similar to what you'll see in college. A lot of the like traditional classes you'll see in high school, uh, they're still important, of course. Like, don't take this the wrong way, but they won't be really, I guess, the format that you'll see in college. Um, you know, what really in like college you'll see is that you'll have lectures, you'll have discussions, you'll have labs. But whereas in like really in high school, your classes are more like you combine all of that into in a class itself. So college classes are different. They're a little more rigorous, especially once you get into more of the upper division courses. But a lot of what you're doing right now, you're preparing yourself for what you're going to see in college, especially if you're taking um, if you're taking advantage of AP classes, PSEO, CIS classes, all those. That's giving you like really meaningful exposure to what you'll see in college.
Well, we're getting pretty close on time here, and I really want to thank you guys again for spending an hour with us today. And the presentations were absolutely wonderful. And we maybe have time for one or two more questions. Blaney or Melissa, did you want to add anything else in?
Um, I guess the only thing that I saw there was, are there tests or is it mostly just projects? There are tests. It's very hard. It's very similar to high school where you'll have or at least my high school, we had midterms and finals, and sometimes you'll have more tests and quizzes in one class than another. But yes, it's not just projects where it's based off of participation. It is tests and concepts. So just want to clear that up.
Yeah, that's for sure. The only other thing I was going to throw out there that we kind of touched on is the most beneficial part of engineering, science, technology in general is honestly, it's all the future. Like everything that we're going into is going to be based on science. It's going to be based on technology. I mean, us right now in COVID, we would not be able to do anything if we didn't have technology. Like it's basically our life at this point. So I think it's just really cool that like all these fields you can go into within STEM have a huge impact on the world, on society, on communities, on how you can like improve them. Like internet has improved so many things, or like even just like telephones and cell phones, like the ability to like connect with people far away, things like that. It's just really important to notice that like STEM has a huge impact on the world and all sorts of things, and saving lives and communication and internet services, like all those things that seem kind of like, oh, they're just there. They mean a lot to a lot of communities around the world.
Well, thanks again so much for being here. We really appreciate your time. And Melissa, Mulaney, and Svanish, if you just stay on the call for a little bit. Everyone else, if you didn't get your questions answered, or if you, well, this is my big question for you three. Would you mind if I gave your email addresses out to the students and they contacted you?
Yeah, that's
Absolutely,
totally
go for
fine.
it.
Yep.
Okay. There's a way that you can reach out to them and you can get some like real life experience from people that are doing what you guys might want to do in your future. So thanks so much again for being here. And students, thanks for being here. And if you're watching this on video, I'm going to click stop now, and then you'll be able to complete it virtually. Thanks again for being here. Everyone else, we'll see you next week.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, guys.
Thank you.